Look, I remember listening to this song because I was in 7th grade at Shamrock Middle School. Shout out Shamrock in Decatur, Georgia. I know they changed the name, but still Shamrock, Lucky Clovers. And we were the jazz band at the time. We went to downtown Atlanta. We were playing in a Atlanta jazz competition in order to get a spot in order to play in the Atlanta Jazz Festival. One of my favorite festivals. I actually seen Roy Hargrove play there before. And during this time, they always gave out swag bags, and I think it was on the duty of Georgia Tech that year, so they gave us swag bags. I dip into the bag. First thing I find is a CD. And I'm like, oh, shoot, we get albums here? I'm so hyped. And I remember putting it into my CD player because that's what we had back then. I didn't have an MP3 player like some of you, and for the fancy people, I didn't have an iPod. And I turn it on, and all you hear is this. It's like classic walking into the party is like, oh, what's happening, player? Oh, what's happening? Hey. And then you just hear ba 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 da, as you heard on the horn. And then Common, yes, Chicago rapper, yes, Tiffany Haddish beau right now. And it's like 2003 right now. Common, outside of like listening to the radio with some friends and closing my ears sometimes when Kanye was like screaming or whatever, Common was probably the first rapper I was like, ooh, poetry, let's go. And he spits this freestyle right here. Calm sense, what can I do? I build or destroy, doing what I can, cause you see I be a D-boy, taking it to the future. I execute you if I have to, you can stand still like a statue. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. It's wild. Like, it was a wild moment in my, like, how old was I? I was like 13. I was like, okay, this is rap. I thought rap was bad. This is actually pretty fire. And during this time, I was like, okay, I like this. And I always go back to listen to it sometimes. And actually, it's kind of interesting because that freestyle is called Common's Freestyle. And I guess during this time in 2003, RH Factor was just like, we're just going to name it that. And it's interesting because Common's Freestyle actually alludes to the freestyle that Acel does.
Oh my God, who is this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, who is singing so funny?
Yeah. What's good, everybody? My name is Ralph from the South. You know, the host that does the most. Don't need to boast. And this is another installment of Scientifically Sound. It's a little more chill today. You already know. And I mean, I should know chill. I live up in the Great North. This is going to be a show about Common freestyle of Acel. Now I know what you're wondering. A freestyle like this? Calm sense, what can I do? I build or destroy, doing what I can, cause you see I be a D-boy, taking it to the future. I execute you if I have to, you can stand still like a statue. Yes, I know. It's very weird if Acel could freestyle like that, but there is some truth to it, and I'll explain. So those lyrics though, right? I know Common was freestyling off the dome. It's 2003. He's vibing, you know. And these type of lyrics actually are kind of interesting because I don't even think Common knew that those lyrics could actually be about the cell cycle, which is honestly a common freestyle that Acel goes through. Check this out. So literally, this cell cycle is just a common freestyle that the cell does. You have a beginning, the middle, the end. So the phases of this cell cycle are this. You have G0, you have G1, you have synthesis, you have G2, and then you have mitosis. So imagine I'm a cell. Let me get in the mindset. I'm a cell. I'm tiny. I come in, just boom, I'm new to the hood, and I have a decision to make. As a new cell, I can either go one way or the other way. And the first way is, I guess my favorite way, because I like to take naps and I like to chill out, which is G0. G0 is known as the quiescent state or the senescent state, where a cell, after being made, will just go dormant. It'll just stay quiet. It won't grow. It's actually a non-growing state. And during this time, a cell can actually differentiate into a specific type of cell. So you can actually differentiate into a specific type of cell. such as a neuron or a muscle cell or what have you. And it's all based on the presence of mitogens or the absence of that. Or you can also think about it as what's going on within the body, because it needs a particular growth factor in order to go to the other decision that you can make as a new cell. So if I'm not going into the quiescent state, I must be trying to get up out of here and do cell division myself. So new cell, come out, hi, and I go into G1, which in G1 is the beginning of the interphase that will lead up to mitosis and the other phases of mitosis and cell growth. Because the whole purpose of the cell, and at least going through the cell cycle, is to replicate the genome in order to give to two cells. So as a cell in G1, I'm preparing. So I'm pulling in cellular components. I'm trying to build up so I can prepare for doing DNA synthesis within my own self as a cell. And from there, I actually take about 12 to 15 hours. I know it's probably long for y'all, but our cells are doing this constantly. So we're building up towards it, and it's all based on the growth factors that are around. And during a certain point, I get to it's actually called the R point, or the restriction point. And during this time, the cell has, once again, another decision to make. It's either like, okay, let's go and do DNA synthesis, or we can go back and retreat and just chill out and be G in G naught, or we have to check everything that we have in terms of the cell before we move forward into DNA synthesis. So once we get to that R point, and it actually makes sense to a cell to be like, all right, let's do DNA synthesis. It goes to DNA synthesis. The genome is being replicated. This is about 6 to 8 hours, give or take, depending on how much you're making. And the whole idea behind DNA synthesis is to get the chromosomal DNA prepared in order to get organized in later phases of cell's life. So we get to this point, and we reach another R point, which, if anything in the genome is damaged during DNA synthesis, the cell just stops growing. We got to figure out what we're doing. We got to repair. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And so once all that is repaired, next we get to G2. Now we're rounding third. And during this time, this is about 3 to 5 hours, the cell is still preparing, and it's just growing. So like from G1, we're like making decisions, we're making moves, we need this, we need that. We're growing a little bit, but we need some growth factors to help us. We're in synthesis, okay, now in synthesis, we're getting the genome prepared. And then G2 is just like, okay, I just need to get bigger. I need to get, take up some space, get a little big for my whole mass. And then from there, the cell grows, and now we can finally go into mitosis. Wait, no, we can't. We have another R point when we get to G2, and it's mainly just to make sure that anything in the genome, if it's damaged, we repair it. Gotta figure things out, and from there we reach mitosis, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and then cytokinesis. All the phases we already know, which is which is ultimately just how the cell just begins to divide. Some of you may have seen videos of this before. I'm gonna put them up here. And from there, we get to cytokinesis, and then we have 2 daughter cells. During all the time during the cell cycle, as I stated before, there are certain points where the cell's DNA has to be checked, and if it's damaged, it can actually be repaired. But if it's way past repair, the cell will just die. It will activate apoptosis, which is just cell death, and it's necessary just to make sure that too many mutations don't get out of hand in order to change the entire genome. So it's interesting if you think about Common's Freestyle, because he states, I build or destroy. Cells are either building up to do mitosis, or if it gets too complicated, you just destroy. You also have I'll execute you if I have to. You can stand still like a statue. Either cells will of course die again, or they will stand still in a quiescent state, G0, remember? So with all the information in mind, unfortunately, our bodies can't always be perfect all the time. We age, we get older, things change about us, and even our cells change about us. In the beginning, the repair pathways that are in place to make sure the genome is repaired before it goes through the rest of the cycles, rest of the phases in the cell cycle, were just in their prime. And over time, we accumulate damage on our DNA throughout our entire lives, which leads to diseases like cancer and other diseases that may be based in genetics or just based in how much damage you take on throughout your lifetime, whether it's through environmental factors, through the sun, or through exposure to other factors within our world. I guess your body and your cells better have a hot 16 on you every time. Well, that's my time today in terms of Scientifically Sound. I've been your host with the most, Ralph from the South. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. I'll put them right here. We have Twitter for the Sci_sound, the number 4, mind you. And then Instagram, Scientifically Sound. We also have started doing a YouTube page. That way you can see the monstrosity with my hair or what's happening on this side, because you probably look like, what is happening? In addition, we also have started to get on TikTok. Please like and subscribe to the podcast. You can email us questions or even just a discussion topic to the number 4, thescientificallysound@gmail.com. You can even look into asking if you want to give a talk or do correspondence with us, because we love collaboration. I'm so excited to be doing this. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Peace.